Hello everyone, my name is Clinton Carlson and I'm an Associate Professor of Design at the University of Notre Dame. I wanted to start by saying thanks to everyone at Design Incubation that made this symposium happen, in spite of the pandemic. It means a lot to me and I think all of us participating. I hope everyone watching is healthy and staying safe at this time. I've titled this presentation, Design in the Middle, Redesigning an Appropriated Brand Identity in a Polarized Culture. So what do I mean by the middle? Well, I think we are often pressed to make binary choices by media, family, coworkers, politicians, or friends. Choices such as pro-choice versus pro-life, gun control versus gun rights, Red Sox versus Yankees. In reality, I think many would agree that these issues are often less binary in their choice and are better represented by a spectrum and by complexity. Until recently, I have found comfort in the idea that the majority of us were found in the middle of this spectrum. Call it the silent majority, the moderate middle, or Dodger fans. But there is evidence that the middle ground is being squeezed in our culture. Pew Research published a report in 2016 stating that, quote, partisan animosity has grown and gotten more personal. Most of these intense partisans believe the opposing party's policies are so misguided that they threaten the nation's well-being. Political scientist Catherine DeVries has stated, quote, fragmentation is the new equilibrium. That brings us to another challenging spectrum that is a common topic in our field of design. The appropriation of native or aboriginal symbols by companies and organizations such as the Cleveland Indians, the Washington Redskins, and Indian motorcycles. There are nearly 1,000 trademark logos that reference Indian in their descriptions in the U.S. Patent and Trademark System. Here are just a few of them. They include Chief Industries. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to help lead a rebrand for Chief. Started in 1954 as a small family construction company, Chief has grown to include 1,400 employees and 7 brands located in the U.S., South America, and Europe. 3 generations have led Chief. Founder Virgil Ihusen handed the company over to his son Robert before his grandson DJ became the CEO. As DJ began his time as CEO, he became concerned with Chief's use of the appropriated icon in their logo. He was also concerned about the brand's visual consistency. DJ was a young, new leader among an incredible tenured workforce. In an employee survey, we found that respondents averaged over 18 years of employment with Chief. In contrast, a 2018 study by the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics suggested that the median tenure of U.S. employees was 4.2 years. We conducted a series of executive interviews as well as the employee survey. We asked open-ended questions about the brand's personality and characteristics. We compared the results between Chief's divisions to reveal gaps or divergent perceptions between the brands and corporate leadership. Chief's leaders largely thought the native icon was the most memorable portion of their identity system. But customers felt that the native icon was less important, equal to that of the Chief wordmark. A majority of Chief employees did not see any offense to the existing identity. Not only that, but a vocal group of employees defended the native icon. We became concerned that a dramatic shift in the brand identity early in DJ Ihusen's tenure as CEO could have a negative impact on how he was regarded within the organization, potentially impacting the organization as a whole. We presented Chief with several strategies. The most conservative approach would be to eliminate the color red like Mutual of Omaha, retaining the native icon. Next would be to implement an inanimate object that references native culture like the Kansas City Chiefs. More dramatic strategies would be to eliminate all appropriation of native imagery, but build a more recognizable wordmark such as Hilti, or an abstract icon such as Texaco. So what did we advise Chief to do? Nope, not go in the middle. We advised them toward a transitional solution that would start on the left and work its way to the right as equity was built in additional identity elements. We started by looking at how we could make the Chief wordmark more memorable. The original wordmark was based on Euro-style extended black. We retained that base, but looked for opportunities to modernize the letter forms and increase legibility. You can see we cut the terminals of the C and the F to create a more contemporary and precise wordmark. In addition, we added letter spacing to increase legibility. We referenced the year that Virgil Ihusen started Chief by using a 1954 angle for the cuts on the letter forms. This was carried into an enclosure that would give more prominence to the red and emphasize the angle. A new secondary font was introduced with additional letter spacing for legibility. The transitional icon was updated to better work in small digital settings such as social media avatars and carried the 1954 angle. The lockup of the word mark and transitional icon was designed to maximize brand equity and allow the system to phase out of the cultural appropriation. I've continued to think about our approach on this project, wondering about my role as a designer and strategist. I'm not comfortable with what I see on the left side of this spectrum, but I also wasn't comfortable with jumping directly to the right side. I think my unease and self-doubt may be a sign of being in the middle, where definitive answers are harder to find. I'd like to end with the lyrics to one of my favorite songs by Jeffrey Martin, The Middle. Don't go running your mouth at me about the light and the dark and nothing in between. I see a right and a wrong and a line in the middle. Don't forget about the middle. I hope that we as designers and educators keep fighting for the middle. And that isn't to say recognizing the, quote, very fine people on either side of every argument. There are many times and causes to fight for one side. Rather, I mean that we fight for nuance, complexity, and broader understanding of diversity, and the strength that diversity brings to us as designers and as society. I think that happens when we remember the middle. Thank you.